EduwebTVKPM.
Hello, Sean.
Oh, hi, Miss Hanin.
Hi, Sean. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do you know the values of what it takes to be a man?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Do you have any advice for me?
Well, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise.
Wow, those are very, very useful advice. Do you have more?
Yes, and I think that it's also time for us to invite all our friends to our lesson today.
All right, let's go.
Okay?
Hello everyone! You are now watching Upper Form or Menengah Atas on EduwebTV KPM together with me, Sean Steven, as your host. And for today, our subject is none other than English Literature Form 4 and Form 5 together with Miss Hanin. Hi Miss Hanin.
Hi, Sean.
How are you today?
Fantastic.
Alright, it's great to have you here. But before we continue, we also like to introduce our sign language interpreter of the day, and that is, of course, Miss Shazlin. Hi, Miss Shazlin. And how are you today? Great! And of course, it's not just the 2 or 3 of us. There are also a few pupils who are joining us online. Let's see who they are. Hi, everyone! There we go, our very beautiful faces joining us today. Miss Hanin, could you kindly introduce them to all of us?
Oh, okay, sure. So these girls are from SMK Convent Ipoh. So the first one we have Cassandra. Hi, Cassandra. We also have Masha.
Hi, Masha.
And then we also have Ain.
Hello.
And last but definitely not least, Khadijah.
Hi. All right, are you all ready for our lesson today? Give me a thumbs up if you are. There we go. They are ready, Miss Hanin. So,
okay.
What are we going to learn today?
Okay, so Sean, today we are going to go into poetry. And the topic is If by Rudyard Kiplin. Okay,
Alright.
so do you know who Rudyard Kiplin is?
He is a poet?
Yes. Let's learn some more about him.
Alright.
Okay, so let's look into what we will be learning today. So today we'll be going into 4 things. So the first one will be on the background of the poet and the poem. The second one will be on the text. The third one will be literary devices. And the fourth one, we're going to look at theme and discussion.
All right.
Okay, so without further ado, let's get into it.
All right.
All right, so let's look at this poet, okay? So the poet, let's look at this handsome gentleman. You might know one of his work, okay? So who is he? His name is Rudyard Kiplin. He was born on the 30th December 1865 and he died on 18 January 1936. So he was born in Mumbai, India, and then he became an English novelist, a short story writer, a poet, and a journalist. And his notable work is actually The Jungle Book.
Oh, you mean the
Mowgli.
animated... Yeah, Mowgli.
Yep.
Right, bare necessities. Okay, I remember that.
So this is the writer. Now, he's married and has 3 children who are Josephine, Elsie, and John. This is important because the poem is going to be to one of the children.
Okay.
Okay? And then the most important thing also, he actually won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1907. Okay, so let's look at our poem today. So our poem is If, written in 1895. Okay, and this is a very important poem in the English language. It was first published in Rewards and Fairies in 1910. It was written in the form of a paternal advice to his son John.
Okay.
And it has a rhyme scheme of the first stanza A A B C B C, fourth stanza A B C D C D. We will look into this when we go into literary devices.
Okay.
And this important poem is actually representing the core value of the Victorian, which is on Stoicism, or what we commonly know now as the British national value of the self-disciplined stiff upper lip.
Okay.
So let's look into it. What is it about? Okay, so If is actually published in 1910. So I'm going to recite a bit of the poem so that our pupils out there could know what the poem is about.
Okay.
Okay, so the first one. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by names to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you give your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except for the will, and which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch. If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. So it's a wonderful poem. So what are we going to do today? So we're going to actually analyze the poem today on the form and structure and the meaning.
Okay.
Okay, and then we're going to look at poetic devices as well as the theme. So
Okay.
this is what we're going to be learning today.
Yes.
All right. So first of all, form and structure. Based on the the poems, we have our friends also online.
Yeah.
So I'd like to ask Khadija, how many stanzas are there in the poem?
In this poem, there are 4 stanzas.
4 stanzas, correct. Okay. So, and then how many lines are in the stanza? All right. Can I have next person?
There are 8 lines in the stanza in the poem. However, in literature, we call it as octave.
Very good, Masha. Yes, there are 8 lines, but we call it octave. All right. The next one. Who exactly is the speaker? The voice of the poem. Can I have anybody? Okay, Ain.
The speaker is a father.
Right, because this is an advice poem from the father. And who exactly is the father talking to?
The speaker is talking to his son.
Correct. So, because this is a paternal advice poem, so the father is actually talking to his son.
Ah, all right. So all the pupils gave the correct answer?
Yes, they are. So, thumbs up to you girls.
All right,
Good
well
job.
done, everyone. And because of that, I think we deserve a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back to you on Upper Form on EduwebTV KPM.
EduwebTV-KPM.
And welcome back. You're now watching Upper Form on EduwebTV KPM. Our subject for today is English Literature Form 4 and Form 5. Together with Miss Hanin. Hi, Miss Hanin.
Hi, Sean.
Shall we continue?
Yes, definitely. Okay, so let's look at what we are going to go to the next section.
Okay.
So because we've already looked at form and structure, so now we're going to look at meaning. And so when we're going to make sense of the poem, later on we'll go to the next two sections. Okay, so let's analyze the poem. So let's look at the first stanza of the poem. So this is the full text, and let's look at the first stanza. Now, as you can see, on the left, there are numbers. Okay, so what do you think these numbers represent? These numbers represent the advices that the number of advices that the father has given in this particular stanza. So as you can see, pupils, there are 6 advices there. So the first one is on, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. So what is the father telling his son on what are the values that he needs to have? The first one is on stoicism and keeping calm. So when there are chaos around you, you have to keep calm so that you can have a logical mind to think on what to do next.
Yes.
And the second advice is if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. So here the father is actually emphasizing on self-trust, but do not be too confident because you need to have the ability to accept constructive criticism so that you can improve yourself in the future.
Oh, very good advice.
Yep. And the third is if you can wait and not be tired by waiting. This is a very important advice on patience. The fourth one is being lied about. Don't deal in lies. This is an advice which is important now, definitely, especially when it comes to morality, to be truthful at all times. Do not lie.
Yes.
Okay. The fifth one, being hated. Don't give way to hating, because this is the father saying, don't ever hate anybody. If someone does anything bad to you, don't hate the person. Walk away, think logically, be the better person. Okay? And the last advice is, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. This is, in life, you must have humility. Do not be arrogant. Okay? So I'm going to ask one of my girls. Okay, Khadija, based on the 6 advices, are there any of the advice that you like?
The one that I really like is when he told his son to always be truthful and not stoop down to others' levels by telling lies, because lying won't fix any situation, it'll just make it worse.
Correct, right? So that is a very important value that we also need to have in our life, in our everyday life.
Yes.
Okay, now let's look at the second stanza. So here we have another 4 extra values. So the 7th value is, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim. This is talking about don't dwell in fantasy. Or in the Malay proverb, jangan ada angan-angan mak jenin.
Okay.
So you have a specific dream.
Yes.
You must put action into it. Don't just dream, I want to be a millionaire. I want to get all straight A's for my SPM, but you didn't study. So here, actions must follow your dreams.
Okay.
So the 8th one is if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those 2 imposters just the same. So what exactly is this about? So triumph and disaster, triumph is actually success, disaster is failure. So here, you have to not dwell on your success and do not dwell on your failure, because life goes on. If you succeed, what's your next step? If you fail, what is your next step? Okay? So this is what the father is saying. Don't dwell on it. The 9th advice is, if you can bear to hear the truth, you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools. So knaves are those people who lies. So you have spoken your truth. You have said something correct. but maybe your enemies or your rivals wanted to twist your words and gossip. And especially in nowadays, there's a lot of gossip online, there's a lot of cyberbullying. Many of them are actually misinformed. So don't fall for it, okay? Don't let it get to you.
Okay.
All right. And the 10th one is, or watch the things you gave your life to broken and stoop and build them up with worn out tools. Here is talking about having the strength to start again when you fail. I think this is a very good advice.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, so maybe can I ask one of the girls? Okay, Masha, and what is your favorite advice from this stanza too?
My favorite advice would be in the line, if you can dream and not make dream your master, which means you need to have it is good to have a dream. However, don't let it control your life because you need to work to make it happen.
Great, exactly. That's very good. Thank you, Masha. Okay, so let's go into stanza 3.
All right.
Okay, so stanza 3, we have 3 more advices given by the father. So the 11th advice, if you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss and lose and start again at your beginnings. So what does this mean? It means that the father says in life you must take risk. If you succeed, great. If you fail, start again. Don't let it overtake you.
Yes.
The 12th advice is never breathe a word about your loss. So here, never complain, never explain. Don't complain about it, just keep on moving. All right, so what's your next step? The 13th advice, if you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. So here it means that when you do something, you must give everything that you have.
Yes.
Okay, all the energy, put 100 or usually in the sports, the athletes' way of thinking is give 150% when you're doing something, okay?
Yes.
So, based on these 3 advices, in stanza 3, I'd like to ask one of my girls, what are their favorite advice? So, anybody?
My
All right.
favorite advice is and never breathe a word about your loss. It's because that if you keep complaining about the things that if you keep complaining about your problem, then you may get overly emotional about the loss and not try again.
Good, Ayn. Exactly. So don't be emotional about it. Move on. All right? And now the final stanza. Let's look at the final formula that Rudyard Kipling has given his son. So there are 4 more advices here. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. So this means you have the ability to mingle with all walks of life. You do not choose your friends. Don't choose only the elites or the rich kids, okay? You are able to have the social skill to talk to everyone, every walks of life in community. The next one is, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, this is talking about do not fall for the scorn and praises of people. Your enemies will scorn you, will give you all the negative feedback. Your friends will uplift you too much.
Okay.
So you need to know how to balance it out. Live in moderation. Okay. 16, if all men count with you, but none too much. So this means you have to be someone who people can depend on.
Okay.
But don't sacrifice yourself too much.
I see. Okay.
You have to know when to say no, which a lot of us have a problem with.
Yes, of course.
So live in moderation. You help people, but also help yourself.
Okay.
And the last one, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. So this is very important because time is gold. Use your time fully and wisely. And if you do all the advice from number 1 to 17, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
Wow.
So this means that if everything that you do This is very important because you are able to live with dignity.
Yes.
Okay. Now, so I like to also ask, okay, Cassandra, what is your favorite advice from this stanza?
My favorite advice is, if all men count with you, but none too much. For me, it feels like you have to set healthy boundaries with people so that you don't get taken advantage of too much.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay, that is absolutely true. And another thing that we find that is extremely important, because this is such an evergreen poem.
Yeah.
In all walks of life. And I know that I just like to point out one thing. Even when I was teaching, my pupils was like saying, "Miss, why is it just a father talking to a son? Is it only applicable for boys?" No, this is a parent talking to any child. So if you're a girl, this also applies with you. If you want to become a person who live into adulthood with dignity, and therefore you can use all these advices that Kiplin has given to his son also into your life.
Yes, that's
Okay.
right. And from these 17 advices that was given by the poet to his child, I think it kind of sums up what a human being should be and should have if they want to be a decent person, or if they want to be somewhat that is not only respected but can also be dependent on. So there's a 50-50 thing. You can do this, but also you have to do this. So there's a lot that a person really needs to not really achieve, but also to have in themselves, so that they're able to, be somewhat like not really an idol, but someone, I would say, decent.
Yes, correct. Because I think that nowadays many students are too focusing on money. Okay, money does not really tell us whether you are a successful person as a human being.
Yes.
So now we are looking back at all the good moral values on how you can be a productive member of society. So it is important for us to look back at all these values and see whether all of them we can implement into our daily lives, so that we could become a person who is respected.
Yes, well said, teacher. And right now we're going to take a short break. Back to you after this on Upper Form on EduwebTV KPM.
EduwebTV KPM.
Hello! You're now watching Upper Form on EduwebTV KPM together with Miss Hanin and also our sign language interpreter, Ms. Shazlin. All right, Miss Hanin, shall we continue?
Okay, definitely. All right. So, because the previous segment we've already looked at the meaning of the stanzas, now we are actually going to go into literary devices. One of the most important things. We're going to look at how the poet uses his craft to write this poem. Okay? So, let's look at stanza 1. We're going to break it down stanza by stanza. Okay, so in this particular stanza, as you can see, I have actually put colours at the very end of at the last word. So this is because it's to talk about the end rhyme, and in poem it's very important. We want to see whether there are similarities in the pattern, and if there are any interchangeable. So let's look at this particular stanza. So here you can see the last words of each line. You, when all about you, blaming it on you, when all men doubt you, make allowance for their doubting too. So the sound is you too. Same sound, so that's why we call it in literature, in poetry, A, the A sound.
Okay.
Then we go into the fifth line, waiting. And then it has the same sound as the seventh line, hating. So this is a B pattern.
Okay.
Right? And the sixth line and the eighth line has the same sound, lies, wise. So this is C. Now, I would like to also emphasize to the pupils that in poetry, it's not about the spelling, it's about the sound. So whenever you want to try to find the pattern, you must recite it loudly so that you can hear. Is the sound correct? Is the sound the same? So it's not based on spelling, it's based on the sound. So this is why we call it end rhyme. Okay, so let's look at the form. In this stanza, there's 8 lines. In literature, we call it octave. Okay, so we can see a repetition. If you can, so here it has 1. Oh, sorry. Okay. Apologize. Okay, all right. Okay, it's okay. So we're going to look at if you can keep your head when all about you. So that's the if you can trust, if you can wait. This is a repetition. Now, I just like to have a little bit of revision with the pupils and also my students, which is on what is a repetition. So, Khadija, can you please tell me what's a repetition?
Repetition is a literary device that involves using the same word or phrase over and over again to emphasize an important point.
Correct. So here is actually the writer, the poet, wanted to emphasize on the word if you can. This is important because it's an advice from the father to the son. So the father is actually giving a choice to the son. So that's why it says if you can, not you must, you should. This is what you need to do, is if you can. So the choice is up to you, my child, whether you want to take the A road or the B road. So this is important in the poem, okay? And now we're going to go into contrast. So before that, can I ask also one of my students, what is contrast?
Contrast is when 2 or more different or opposite things are deliberately placed to accentuate their difference.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Ain. So contrasts are 2 different things, but they are actually put near each other so that it could show the stark difference. So here we can find keep your head versus losing theirs. Okay? Because when you keep your head, you're calm. Losing theirs is chaos. So there's 2 very contradicting things. The second one, you have trust and doubt. So trust is is self-belief, and doubt is as if you feel there's something wrong with it. So it's actually very 2 contrasting things. You're waiting and you're tired. So this is also very 2 contrasting things. Lied about, lying. So you are the victim or you become the perpetrator. And also in the 5th contrast, hating versus not hating. So people are hating you, you are the victim, and not hating, which means you as the person, you should not become the perpetrator of hating others. So these are some of the contrasting visuals, contrasting imageries found in stanza 1. Okay, so we've already finished stanza 1. So now let's go into stanza 2.
All right.
Okay. So in stanza 2, as you can see, there is a difference of pattern already. So here you have master. Okay, so the first line it has master. The second line it says aim. The third one is disaster. The 4th line is the same. So unlike stanza 1 that has the same pattern of A, here that's interchangeable. So master and disaster are the same. So this is A. Aim and same, this is B.
Okay.
Right? Then we go to spoken. Okay, so the 4th line is the same, the 6th line. Spoken and broken. This is a C pattern. And fools and tools for the 5th line. 1, 2, 3, 6 and 8. That is the D pattern. Okay, so as you can see, there's a change. And this is the same pattern that will go on for the next stanza 3 and stanza 4. Okay, so again, it is in a form of 8 lines, an octave. And as you can see, we can still see if you can, if you can, if you can. So here we still have the repetition that is found in this stanza, okay? And now I would like to also explain the concept of caesura. So caesura is the dash. The dash is actually when you are reciting. So when we are reciting, you have to pause. You cannot just say, if you can dream and not make dreams your master. In poetry, you must pause when there is a caesura. So if you can dream and not make dreams your master.
I see. It gives a slight effect to how you recite a poem, right?
Exactly. So there's a suspense there.
Okay.
All right. Okay. And so let's go into our next literary devices on personification, one of the favorites of poetry. So I like to ask my student, what exactly is personification? So anyone?
Personification is giving human characteristics to inanimate objects, ideas, or animal.
Very good. Thank you so much, Marsha. So personification is giving human characteristics to objects, ideas, or animals, or non-living things. Okay, so here the human characteristic is given to dreams. So make dreams, because the human characteristic is master.
Okay.
So you're making dreams as if it is a status that human have an ownership. So that is why it's personification. The next personification is if you can meet with triumph and disaster. So triumph and disaster are actually situations. Okay, they're not people.
Yes.
But here it says if you can meet, it's as if you're meeting two people whose name is triumph and disaster. And the father is saying, treat these two imposters, just leave them be. Don't say hello to them, just walk past. So this is in a form of personification. You're giving human qualities to triumph and disaster. Okay.
Yeah.
The next one is symbolism. All right, so what is symbolism? Okay, Cassandra, maybe you can help me. What exactly is symbolism?
Symbolism is symbols that represent a certain idea or quality.
Very good. Yes. So it represents a certain idea, something else that is very different from the word itself. So here we have triumph. So when the word triumph, what exactly does triumph mean? It actually means success.
Okay.
Right? Disaster is actually talking about failure. And then we also have another symbolism, which is on knaves. Knaves means the liars,
Okay.
the con men. Okay? It actually links to knives. So stabbing at the back.
Okay.
So these knaves, these are the liars, and those who are not actually don't trust those who are knaves.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so this is in stanza 2. Okay, now let's look at our next stanza, stanza 3. As you can see, we have the same end rhyme, just like stanza 2. A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D. All right, here again, the form is 8 lines octave. And as you can see, we still have repetition. This is extremely important because for the past 3 stanzas, we have if you can. It's repeated again and again. This is important because the father is giving the choice to the child.
Yeah.
Do you want to do this or do you want to do this? Do you want to be this person or do you want to be this kind of person? So that's why the repetition is the words, the phrase, if you can, is repeated again and again and again, emphasized by the father. Okay, so let's look at the symbolism. Now, there's quite a few symbolisms here. Particularly here, we have pitch and toss.
Okay.
Right. So what exactly does pitch and toss means? It's actually a game. So pitch and toss, you pitch, you toss. You know, you're playing, it's a bit like gambling a bit because what we're talking about here is taking risks.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in the context of heart, your nerve, your sinew is talking about every single energy that you have. Okay? So your heart is talking about your heartbeat, the nerve, every single part of your body, sinew, your muscle. So when you do something, you must give everything that you have in your body. So this is what it means, okay? So scientifically, of course, it's the muscle, the nerve.
Yep.
But what it means, symbolism here, is you're talking about your will, your energy to give everything that you have in your body to do something. And hopefully that the aftermath will be success.
I see.
Okay?
Okay.
So now let's go to the final one, stanza 4. So we've arrived here. So again, and rhyme A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, right? So the forms, again, is octave. And as you can see here, we have the same lines again and again, 8 lines a stanza in every single stanza is 8 lines. This actually shows that the father's, it is consistent and it is evergreen, it's permanent. The reason why is because these values is consistent in your life. Okay, and then we have the repetition again, if you can. So, as you can see here, the father is actually repeating it again. Why? Because again, let me just emphasize on this, the father is giving a choice to the child. Do you want to do A or B? Do you want to be this person or this kind of person? Right. Again, we have caesura or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch. So here is, like I have mentioned before, it's an effect.
Okay.
Okay. And the last one, let's look into the literary devices of symbolism. So we have 3 symbolisms here. We have crowds. So what does crowds mean? Crowds means the common people.
Okay.
So if you can talk with the common people, keep your virtue. And you all walk with kings. So the kings here means the elites, the wealthy people. All right? So this is actually very juxtaposed, it's opposite.
Yep.
So you have the ability to talk to common people, to the commoners, but also you're able to talk to the kings or the elites and keep your status. Because sometimes when we meet all these celebrities, those who have high status,
Yes.
you fawn too much. Or
Correct.
you become, you've lost yourself, you idolize too much. And from that, you can actually lose a lot of your virtues.
Yes, that's true.
Because you're trying to curry favor and so on and so forth. So you do not want that. The father said, no, moderation, respect everyone, be decent to everyone regardless of status and socio-economic levels.
Okay.
And the last one, the unforgiving minute. This is important because the father is saying that the unforgiving minute is actually symbolizes life.
Yes.
And life is unforgiving. Because there are certain times where you will be successful.
Okay.
You'll face a lot of good things. You'll get a lot of good things given to you. So, for example, people will praise you. Or you get the A's that you wanted. But also in life, you will stumble. It's not if stumble, you will stumble. Because life is like a it's like a wheel.
Okay.
Once you go up, it goes down. So here the father says, life it can be unforgiving. But what do you do in life? You must use the time given to you wisely. If you fail, get on back up and start again. If you succeeded, great. What's your next step? So this is what the father is saying. And if you are able to do everything, then the earth is yours and everything that's in it. Okay? So you will be able to become a very successful person and you will become a very successful adult.
That's right, that's right. And I feel all this advice, as you mentioned earlier, it's very relatable to us now. It doesn't matter if you're a male or a female, whether you're a kid or actually an adult like me. I think it's very, very relatable itself. And I like how this symbolism is not too deep, that you can also understand it even when you read it just as it is.
That is
really,
right.
really interesting stuff. And right now we're going to take a short break. Back to you after this on Upper Form on EduwebTV KPM.
EduwebTV KPM.
Welcome back. You are now watching Upper Form on EduwebTV KPM together with me, Sean Stephen, and our subject for today is English Literature, Form 4 and Form 5 with Miss Hanin. All right, Miss Hanin, shall we continue?
Okay, so today, now, we're going to go into the 4th segment, right? Which is the themes. Now, this is very important because whatever we've learned, all the meanings, all the language devices, it has to come centralized by one idea. That is the reason why all these writers, all these poets, all these dramatists write. They have to come up and to tell you what exactly is the theme about, what is the whole overall meaning of all these things that we read. Okay, so in this particular poem, The whole poem is talking about composure and self-restraint. So this is the central theme in the poem, which is morally built on moderation. So here, because we can see the father is advising his son a lot, so he is actually talking about in life to my dear, dear son, you have to go through it with composure, exercise self-control, integrity and humility, and therefore you will become a wonderful adult, a person who can contribute to society well. Okay, so we've gone through everything actually. We've done all the meanings, we've done all the revises, we've done the themes, we've looked at the background. Now let's have a bit of fun.
Okay.
So, in our exercise, now we wanted to ask my students and also all you pupils out there who's also reading and having that textbook with you, you can also do this with us at home. Let's identify Kipling's use of contrast in the poem. Okay, so this is the poem overall. Right, so let's look at every single one of them, stanza by stanza. Remember, pupils, we're just wanting to look at the contrast. So, let's have one of our friends, Khadijah. Okay, so maybe you can help me and help all the pupils out there who's also watching. What are the contrasts that we can find here in this stanza?
The first contrast is keep your head versus losing theirs.
Okay, so we have here, keep your head and losing theirs. So this is one. It's
Okay.
very different. Good.
The next one is trust versus doubt.
Yes. If you can see the same line, that's trust versus doubt. So this is the second one.
Okay.
The third is wait versus not tired by waiting.
Okay. So it is very contrasting. So it's waiting and tired.
Okay.
All right. So this is the third one.
The fourth is lying versus don't lie.
Okay. So being lied about and don't deal in lies. Right. So this is the fourth. Anything else?
Hate versus don't hate.
Okay. So hated. So don't give way to hating. Do not hate. So this is 5. All right, now let's look at the answers,
All
whether
right.
she got it correct or not. So let's look at the first one. Yes, so this is very two contrasting things. Keep your head versus losing theirs. So you have to keep calm versus chaos. So either you want to keep calm or you want to enter the chaotic thing. You want to make a lot of noise because or else you won't think logically. You won't be able to think logically.
Yeah.
Right. The second one, let's see. Correct. Trust versus doubt. Very two contrasting things. Okay, I trust you, I doubt you.
Yeah.
Right. Next one is wait versus not tired by waiting. That is correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then another contrasting thing, lying. Right? Someone will lie about you, but you should not lie. So those two are two different things. And of course, hate versus don't hate. Very good, Khadijah. Okay, good
Well
job.
done.
All right, now let's look at the second stanza. Okay, I hope that even the pupils at home are already geared up. All right, so let's have the second person. Anyone wants to volunteer? Who?
Me, teacher.
All right, Marsha. Okay, so Marsha, why don't you help the pupils at home too? Okay, what are the contrasts?
So the first one would be dream versus not make dream your master.
Okay, so you have dream and not make dreams your master. All right. Anything
The
else?
second one would be triumph versus disaster.
Okay, so you have two contrasting here, triumph and disaster. Anything else?
The last one would be truth versus knaves.
All right. Thank you. So we have the truth versus the liars, knaves. Okay, so these are contrasting images. All right, let's see whether she got it right and whether you actually got it right at home too.
Yeah.
So, the first one, that's right, dream and not make dreams your master. So this is the concept or the contrast between you dream versus doing something.
Yes.
So it's the action, okay? And the next one is triumph versus disaster, whether you want to be successful or failure. So these are the two contrasting things on success and failure. And the next one is truth versus myths. The truth versus lies.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Masha. Good
Well
job.
done.
All right, now let's look at our third one. I'm sure the pupils at home is like, I know the next one. Okay, so what is it? Let's look through it. Okay, so can we have
Yes, teacher.
So, any contrasting things here?
The first contrast is winning and lose and lose.
Okay, so you have the word winning and the word lose, right? Very good. So this is the first contrast. Okay, the next one.
The next is heart and nerve and sinew.
Okay, heart, nerve, and sinew. Okay, what is it? How is this a contrast?
It's because the heart is a different thing, while the nerve is your will to move.
Oh, okay. So, all
Your
right. So
heart-
energy and will. All right. Good. Okay. Anything else?
Nothing else.
All right. Okay. So you have winning. Let's see whether it is correct or not.
Okay.
So the first one is on winning versus losing. All right. Correct. So win and lose. And the next one is actually, if we're looking at this in the third one. So students might think, okay, it's contrasting just words, but actually contrasting could become ideas.
Okay.
So ideas will take all four of the line. What exactly is it talking about? It's talking about the concept of moving versus giving up.
Yes, that's
All
right.
right. So for those pupils out there, do not. Sometimes they will say, "Oh, but I see the contrast, but only through ideas."
Okay.
They read all the lines, and then all of a sudden they say, "I see contrasting ideas, but not exactly contrasting words." So this is also an example of that. You can read all four of the lines, and then you can come up. What exactly is the meaning? Is the meaning contrasting with one another? And if yes, that's also a contrast.
I see.
Especially
Okay.
when you're writing for your SPM. Okay, so this can be an evidence. Don't worry about it, okay?
Okay.
All right, now let's look at the last stanza. Okay, so we have, dear Cassandra, maybe you can help all our friends out there. So any contrast here?
The first contrast is crowds versus kings.
Okay, so you can have crowds versus kings. Okay. Anything else?
The next one is foes versus friends.
Okay, quite clear. Foes versus friends. Okay.
And the last one is dependent versus independence.
Okay, dependent versus independence. Which one would that be from? There
If
is.
all men
Okay.
if all men count with you but none too much.
Okay, yes. So if all men count with you, but none too much. So this is the third point of third contrast, third idea. Okay, so those round ones is talking about specific words, very clear contrast. But the lined one is actually an idea. So here, let's see whether it's correct or wrong. Okay, so yes, crowds versus kings. So common people versus the elite. So this is very contrasting things. Right, the next one is foes versus friends. I think this is very clear. Enemies versus friends.
Okay.
So contrasting. And then the last one is, yes, dependent or independent. A lot of the students have already known this, the meaning, because if all men count with you, so people can depend on you.
Yes.
But not too much. So you're independent from, you have to do things on your own. Okay, so these are two contrasting ideas
Yes.
too. So thank you so much, girls. Fantastic. Well done. And
everyone.
and I also hope all the pupils out there also has gotten all the answers correct. Okay, so we've already come up with this. Already we have ended. Now, I like to also ask the girls back to recap. Let's look back at the poem. Just a
All right.
minute.
Maybe
Okay,
we could do a really quick summary just
Yep.
to sum up what we have learned for today.
Okay, so let's look at all these, the stanzas, the poem. Okay, quick question. How many stanzas are there? Khadija?
There are 4 stanzas. in
Four
the poem.
stanzas, right. So this is important, the physical form. Okay, how many lines are there? Masha?
There are 8 lines and we call it as octave.
Okay, very good. And probably, Ain, who's the speaker? The voice.
The speaker is a father.
Yes, so the father is actually the speaker. And Cassandra, who is he speaking to? Who is this poem for?
The speaker is speaking to his son.
Exactly. Okay, so that's a very fired up, quick questions. And so we've already ended our lessons.
All right, thank you so much, Miss Hanin. And what about the overall performance of our pupils online today?
Good. All right. Okay, so actually they have done very good today, and I'm sure also, Sean, that our pupils at home also have done a fantastic job.
All right. And for those of you who are watching at home, for our pupils at home, if they want to get the materials for our lesson today, from where can they get it?
Well, they can get it from the Delima portal from the KPM website, okay? And also, there are a lot of materials and notes for that, for the pupils and even the teachers.
All right. Thank you so much again, Miss Hanin. And of course, thank you to Miss Shazlin for being our sign language interpreter. For our pupils who are at home or online, thank you so much for watching. For those of you at home, hopefully it's been beneficial to all of you. And we'll see you in our next class. Till then, take care and bye!